Welcome back to another VMware Community vBrownBag. My name's Tony Foster. I'm a vExpert along with a bunch of other things that you can see on the slide. Today we're going to be talking about using VMware Horizon to create desktops that support AI. So let's go ahead and get started with that. If you caught today's keynote session, you probably heard Pat talk about all sorts of exciting AI things. So artificial intelligence. We're actually going to talk about how we can use Horizon desktops to deliver that. And I think it's best that we start out with discussing how machines learn. And what we're going to do is actually walk through one of our models. So here we have a base model, hasn't been trained on anything. It's waiting for us to put input into it. So we're going to take a bunch of pictures, feed it through our model, and actually train our model. This is going to give us the values and everything to actually have a model so that we can do analysis, do the AI thing. So once we've done that, we have a trained model. That trained model is going to have all the weights and everything we need in it to actually analyze pictures. So here you can see we have MoMA and Maui that we've been training on. And so our model right now is analyzing those two pictures and knows which one's which. And you can see down at the bottom of the slide the accuracies of our two models. So what we're going to do is look and see if that is an acceptable value for our model. If it's not acceptable, what we're going to do is go back and retrain again with our data set, maybe add a few new images to get it there, and then run our test set against it and see if our performance improves. If our reliability, accuracy, and performance improve, then we can continue on and we can actually do what's called inferencing, which is taking untagged data, data we don't know about, and figuring out what it is. We can classify our images in this case as to what they are. So that is essentially how machines learn. So let's get to cracking on what we actually need to make all this work. So first we're going to need a virtual machine. You're probably even going to want to take it a step further and do a virtual machine with a vGPU. So I like NVIDIA vGPUs for obvious reasons, and that also brings a bunch of tools into the AI, machine learning, and deep learning space, such as NVIDIA CUDA, cuDNN, and TensorFlow. We're going to put all of these inside of our virtual machines. That way we're able to run AI workloads inside of them. So, why VDI, I bet you're asking? We can do this on physical machines. You may have even heard them talk about doing this on Docker containers today during the keynote. So VDI is an easy-to-consume format, very repeatable, and it meets users' expectations. So users want a desktop to be able to do their training and inferencing on typically. They're used to that way of consuming them. So let's give them those high-powered virtual desktops back in the data center and be able to reclaim those resources, which we'll talk about later. Now, Docker's also a great choice. Real simple to deploy. We'll talk about that here in a bit. It's containerized, so real easy to consume, set up, and get working and making sure you have your versions correct. And of course, it's a modern process. So really moving on to more up-to-date data center models as opposed to using what has worked. So to get started with all of this, what you can do is actually go and check out my past sessions that I've done at the GPU Tech Conference, last year's VMworld, and a few other locations. All the links are right there on the bottom, and they'll actually help you go through, install a vGPU into a virtual machine, and install CUDA on the virtual machine. Those are two of the toughest parts. So let's go ahead and build this. So depending on what we want to do, depends on what we're going to actually use to get there. If you follow the link here on this slide, you can go to NVIDIA's samples page for the developers, and they have a large library of options that you can choose from, such as ResNet, Inception, VGG, and a bunch more. And the ones I just listed off are strictly image recognition. They have audio recognition, they have all sorts of different things. You can go pick and choose what you want and pull down the repos on those to your virtual machine to use as you see fit. Most of them are pre-trained. So that gets us to the really important thing, which is you have to pay attention to what versions are compatible with each other. One of the things I mentioned in my previous sessions is that your vGPU driver has to match the VIB version of your ESXi host. If they don't match, your virtual machine won't work. So, got to make sure that matches up, which then dictates which version of TensorFlow, CUDA, and cuDNN you can use. So, because of that, it's time for me to drop what I learned setting this up. I actually went through and started setting this up so I could have a cool demo for all of you to see. And the versions actually got me. So I don't have a cool demo to go, watch, let's drop this image in and do recognition on it. So all versions have to be compatible. With that, I'm going to finish this off, because I mentioned it earlier in the session, on cycle harvesting. Cycle harvesting is an awesome concept. You have all of these desktops out there for your developers who are creating these workloads, these models. Wouldn't it be great to reclaim that data and pull it back in when your servers are sitting idle? So that's what we can do here. So if you look at this, we've got a VDI environment, and right now we're running full blast on all of the hosts. Well, notice that we also have share values above all of those. So 100% or 100 shares for all of our virtual desktops. Then we have some virtual machines as well off to the side. Those could be doing inferencing for us. And so notice that those have a 1 on their share value. Well, as we go throughout the day, users slow down with their VDI, sessions drop, so forth and so on, to where they're not using all the resources. Come 5 p.m., maybe some of our inferencing systems can start getting back cycles from the VDI environment. And by 10 p.m., there are only a handful of desktops active in the environment. So why not bring up the rest of our systems with shares, so they're already running, to reclaim those extra cycles that are standing around. So that is something that's really cool being pulled into this whole AI discussion. With that, I want to thank everybody for joining me today on this vBrownBag Tech Talk.